Hello, everyone. So this is going to be part 1 of the 1000 subscribers Q&A video. And in case you're wondering, what do you mean part 1? Well, in short, you lovely people asked so many questions that I write up all my responses ahead of time so that, because I'm doing them in character, that way I have a good response to not only let it feel in character, but also to expand upon the character. So it's not just the same things I've already said. But that being said, the Word document that I have all the answers on is 15 pages long and 9,261 words. And a little life hack I heard a while back was take the, if you want to know how long something will take to read, take the number of words it has and divide it by 100, and that's how many minutes it'll take you to say it. So going by that logic, 9,000 words would be 90 minutes, or an hour and a half. And I actually recorded this once already, fun fact, and I recorded it on the wrong sound settings, so it sucked. So, yeah, I'm recording it again, and last time I recorded this one part, it took me an hour. So, we're splitting it up. What I don't know at this moment in time, and you'll be finding this out kind of along with me, I guess, because I don't know right now, but either there'll be this part, which is part 1, and then part 2 will be all the characters doing their stuff, or I'll be uploading one audio per day for an entire week, roundabout, doing each character's part separately. So, part 1 would be today, obviously, me, and then part 2 might be the friendly giant, part 3 is the cat boy, part 4 is, the chill mage, part 5 is the himbo gym bro, and then that would be, I believe, all the way up to Friday. So, yeah, that's one of those will happen. You'll find out, again, kind of as I am. But, yes, so, that being said, I'll save all my sappiness for later. Kind of doing this in the middle of the night, as usual. But, I'm just going to go ahead and get going, because it will take me an hour to record all this, so. I also want to say right quick, briefly, while I am a bit exasperated that I'm having to record this again, which is really the issue, by no means am I upset that you all asked so many questions. I really am genuinely very honored to have gotten so many questions, so thank you for that. Please don't mistake my annoyance at me having messed up my previous take and doing this all over again as annoyance for your questions. By no means am I upset. I'm actually very excited. I was very excited the first time I recorded this. I just wish it was this time. Anyways. Let's see here. I have the document. Okay. So, our first question is from Primrose Bard Lichen. And they ask, question for you. What is your personal favorite size-based activity or scenario, or your biggest size inspiration? And this is a really good question. To be honest, much of the time, I really do enjoy, casual size difference scenarios, like being roommates, or even being neighbors, or, work colleagues, or something like that. I think the more blasé scenarios are really fun, in part because they're so boring, I guess. Though I will say with that my mind tends to go towards more world building than it does playing out scenes in my head. I tend to think of stuff like, are tiny houses built the same as a normal house? Or, are they more structurally sound to keep them from getting crushed? Are tiny people given the same wages as big people, or does their size mean that they get less money because they need fewer resources? It's all very bland for most people, I'm sure, but it's my personal bread and butter. That said, in regards to actual scenarios that are my favorites, I do tend to enjoy the kind of I've heard it called cozy peril type scenarios. The sort of scenarios where there's like a hint of danger, but it works out more or less fine in the end. If that makes sense. So like a borrower being found by a human or the owner of a house, and they're in trouble, but then they come to a mutual agreement in the end. Or a giant who captures a human and teases and threatens them, but he's like their friend, so it's all just playful stuff for their mutual benefit. Honestly, I could go on about my interest for long enough to warrant an entire separate video, but I think you get the idea. So I'd honestly love to do something akin to cozy peril, but I think that for now at least, I'm not fully comfortable with putting the listener in like a genuinely fearful position, because I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose for an ASMR audio, but we'll see. Hopefully I can manage something that kind of straddles that line well. Let's see, next question, still from Primrose Bard Lichen. If given the opportunity, if it were possible to be a certain size of the size difference community, would you choose to be tiny for a day or a giant? And I've thought about this for longer than I'd like to admit, and to be honest, I still don't really have a definitive answer. I think I'd probably want to be tiny, because I don't tend to enjoy a lot of attention. And I feel like unless this was like a regular occurrence, like everyone got the chance to do it for a few days or a day or whatever, I feel like I'd be like a spectacle being so big. So, plus if I knew about it ahead of time, or if it was like some kind of appointment, if it wasn't just like totally random, I feel like I could invite some folks that I know and like trust, and they could keep me company, and I think that'd be fun. But I will also briefly add on here, because it was mentioned in another question, if I were to find someone else who had been shrunken rather than being just like giant myself, I think that could be fun as well. I imagine it would be fun getting to like help them out, or having like a tiny companion for a while. However long they're tiny for, I'd like to kind of just keep them around, and we could have a mutually beneficial friendship. And the last question from Primrose Bard Lichen is, I must ask, out of curiosity, when you do ASMR, does it sometimes help you to visualize a listener? Because I'm a hand fiend, and I tend to imagine being held in someone's hands. First off, that's really cute. Second off, the short answer is yes, but the longer answer, and in my opinion the funnier answer, is that usually when I'm doing my role plays, I try to visualize certain objects that I need to focus on for longer periods of time. Usually because I'm describing them, or because the character I'm playing is interacting with them. It happens a lot when I'm describing stuff as the chill mage, since he has like a lot of fictional magic objects in his store, and I don't actually have any magical objects in my house. So I can't just be like, oh, it's a ring, and describe like a ring I'm holding in my hand or something. But in that same regard, because I don't usually describe the listener, I tend to see my audios from their eyes, since I'm visualizing everything else around them. So it's sort of a reverse effect almost. I have an idea of what everything else looks like, just not the listener. But that said, when I'm doing size difference audios, some of them at least, I do have a general idea of where the listener is. So if I'm doing an audio where the listener is being held in someone's hands, I'm usually holding my microphone anyways. So I kind of imagine that the microphone is in fact the listener. So right now you're being held in my hands. So let's see. Next up, and I'm almost positive I'll butcher this, so I do apologize. Cairo the Fudanchi asks, number 1, what do we taste like? And I believe this question was directed towards the friendly giant specifically, but in case it wasn't, I thought I'd offer an out-of-character answer as well. Generally speaking, I try to leave out as many details about the listener as possible. I try to keep it as vague as I can, so that anyone can enjoy them without feeling like out of place, like, oh, you have beautiful brunette hair, and then every person who doesn't have brunette hair is like, what? I do? But that's why most of my non-commissioned audios tend to be non-gendered, or at least as non-gendered as possible, and have generally vague descriptors like, oh, you're really pretty, or I like your eyes, or whatever. With that in mind, my general ruling for the listener's taste is that they have a subtle, savory taste, which is generally speaking pleasant to the taste buds. So, in short, all of my characters will be happy to lick you anytime you'd like. The next question Cairo asks is, can you make all of the characters meet? And the human is there as well. And I'm not entirely sure which human you're speaking of. You might be referring to the listener, I'm assuming, but I have no idea. But generally speaking, I would love to do a crossover episode, if you will. Most of my characters are at least vaguely aware of each other, as I have it in my head, so I don't even think it'd be that far-fetched. I want to say that in one of my unreleased videos, the Friendly Giant mentions the mage, the chill mage. Obviously the two mages, the chill mage and the bog mage, know each other. The cat boy and the chill mage know each other, and the chill mage has referenced the giant in, I think, another unreleased video. So, all this to say, I know they know each other. So maybe they could do some kind of camping trip where they all meet up in the woods so that the Friendly Giant would have enough room to not destroy people's houses. And the final question that Cairo, the Fudanshi, asks, what is your favorite anime if you watch it? I don't watch anime on my own time usually, but I do watch it with friends sometimes. That said, I have been enjoying getting to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with a friend of mine. We're not really far in, we're not even like halfway through Phantom Blood, I don't think. But it's so over the top and goofy, I love it. And of course, because this question was addressed to everybody, I have either used anime that I've watched in the past or anime that I've gotten recommendations from friends for my other characters. So look forward to that one. Let's see. Victory 3002 asked quite a few questions and encouraged me to kind of whittle a few of them down, combine them where I could. So yeah, I'm going to do that. But I tried to get as many as I could. So let's start with the first one. The first thing that Victory 3002 asks, can you share some of your favorite scenarios or themes to explore in your giant tiny ASMR audios? Which ones were fun to create and made you happy to do? So some of my favorite things to explore, specifically in ASMR, are generally non-relaxing concepts made relaxing. It kind of goes back to the whole idea of the, cozy peril, things that may not be inherently, things you'd inherently think are, super comforting, like, being eaten, being stepped on, or being shrunken for the first time, or having someone else be shrunken for the first time. By all accounts, those things shouldn't be very relaxing, but it's fun to see how they could be, and how I could make them feel more comforting. Like, in the Catboy Steppies audio from back in September of 2023, I really enjoyed trying to capture that, caution in the Catboy and the genuine desire to make you feel special, since the audio is basically that he was trying to indulge you in your own interests. Definitely not a self-insert moment. Another example, though, is the Bog Mage's audios during October of 2023, because I really enjoyed getting to balance that distant and uncaring nature of the character with the need for a calming atmosphere to really make the ASMR, ASMR, not just a spooky audio roleplay. So yeah, those are my favorite things to kind of create, because they really let me test myself and figure out how to create ASMR that's not just like normal situations with size difference kind of sprinkled on top as an afterthought. Some of my audios, when I'm feeling less inspired, tend to kind of just be that, like, I'm going to brush your hair, but with a tiny comb, or I'm going to cook you a meal, but with a tiny pan, or whatever. Which is also fine, but I feel like I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out at times. So, anyways. The second question that Victory 3002 asks, can you describe the creative process behind your ASMR videos involving giants and tiny people? So, a few questions along this line were asked, and I will do my best to cover them all as concisely as possible. So for the beginning of an audio, I'll usually brainstorm an idea and kind of mull it over in my head for like a day or two. Sort of kind of creating key moments for it, like key scenes or important stuff like that. Or figuring out, if it's a new character, I might try to figure out what makes the character, not just everyone else. I try to make it so that I don't have like repeat characters. Like, two characters who are shy but amiable, which is why I don't, the cat boy kind of is the only super shy character. But even he's kind of growing up a little bit. But the point being, I'll typically spend a couple days kind of working over it in my head. And if I feel like it's, generally a pretty solid idea, I'll either begin writing a script for it if it's daylight outside because it's very loud where I'm at during the day, or I'll just pop into my closet and improvise the whole thing if it's nighttime. That being said, I usually have at least one size different scenario running in my head at all times. Like, I am extremely interested in size difference and its many, many different facets. So if I'm ever bored or if I just want to distract myself from whatever's going on, I will just like retreat into my mind and work on size difference stuff. In regards to triggers, however, like ASMR triggers, to be honest, I very rarely think about that kind of stuff because I usually have to record them separately to ensure that my voice is heard clearly through the entire audio. Even like stomach sounds, I have to go in and edit them to make sure that there's no really loud gurgles or groans while I'm talking. So, usually I just don't think about it unless it's like an important part of the audio. Or it'll be like an afterthought. Like, if it's like someone who's typing at a desk or someone who's cooking a meal, I might intentionally go out and find those and add them, find those sounds, record them, and add them in. But otherwise, usually I just do exclusively talking and hope that people will use the theater of their minds. So yeah, in short, most of my audios are pretty much just I come up with them in my head, and then I usually very spontaneously just record things and hammer them out. Next question from Victory 3002. What do you like to draw? I'm asking because you talked about drawing in one of your videos. I personally usually draw character designs, and I'll just make designs for my characters for, roleplay or D&D a lot of the time, and then I just never draw them doing anything. They just sit there in my folders. Recently, however, as part of a Dungeons & Dragons campaign I'm in, I've been drawing a lot of art for my character because he's like a spirit medium kind of character who like relies on nature but also like talks to spirits in his dreams, and he's super fun to play. And I've made multiple comics for him. I've made multiple bits of art of him doing stuff in the game, and the group I'm in is actually entirely artists, so we all just draw our characters doing stuff. It's quite fun. So yeah. Second to last question from Victory 3002. What do you look like? And to be honest, I had half a mind to just say, I don't look like the Friendly Giant, as like a joke. But I actually don't look like anything like him at all. I'm around 6 feet tall or so, with long hair that is noticeably graying. And regarding clothes, I had a moment not too long ago where I realized that I just really don't like wearing black as a clothing choice. So I threw out most of my, well, I didn't throw it out, I donated most of my, like, pitch black shirts and my graphic tees and stuff like that, except for the ones that really mean something to me. And instead I've just been wearing a lot of earth tones, since they are pretty easy to pair with the other colors I had in my closet already. And the final question that I had to leave in, because it made me laugh, from Victory 3002, are you single? Asking for a friend. And this one will probably disappoint some of you, but I am not single. I actually have a very lovely partner as of a good few years now, and I'm very happy about it. I'm quite possibly the luckiest man ever to live. So, yeah. Moving right along, however, Knight the Glitch asks, I am not sure if this has been asked already, but do you ever plan to open a Discord server? An excellent question. To be honest, well, I think that having a Discord server could be a really great way to connect with a community. I'm also really not sure I could run a server like that well. I've attempted similar stuff in the past with smaller groups of people, and unfortunately I'm just not that organized. It's always fallen through, so for now I probably won't make a server of my own, but I might consider joining other size difference communities on Discord and seeing what they're like. You know, maybe seeing if I can find one that I can share a space with, and maybe if I get comfortable with it, I'll open one eventually, but for now, there's no plans for it. And Night the Glitch also asks, what's your favorite hobby? And I feel like this may sound a bit silly or like disingenuous or something, but honestly, I really love doing this. Audio recording brings me so much joy, and I love doing the character voices and the fun concepts, script writing when necessary. All of it is just so much fun. But if we're gonna assume this is like an occupation and not a hobby, I'm really not sure. I do enjoy drawing when I get the time and inspiration, but it's a bit hit and miss. And I also enjoy playing video games with my friends. Recently I've been doing some Lethal Company, some Minecraft, and some Final Fantasy XIV. But I don't know, I guess that's about the extent of my hobbies right now. Let's see. Next. Who's next? Storm Lexia asks, first off, is there a certain character's voice who you love to do more than the others? That's a tough one, honestly. In terms of personality, I love the chill mage. I love playing him, and I think that the casual, kind of less doting but still well-intentioned aspect of his character is fun to explore, and kind of in a different vein from the, himbo jimbro. He's very aware that he's not a doting kind of person, but he still wants to make people feel good. So, he kind of has that kind of mixed aspect of him. However, in terms of explicitly just solely voice, I think that Catboy wins with the Bog Mage as a close second, because the Bog Mage's tone really sets their voice to me, and I really enjoy balancing that, as I mentioned before, the kind of sharper and more irritable tone with the kind of calming ASMR feel. And as for the Catboy, every time I do his voice, honestly, I can't help but smile. He's just so charming to me, and the soft-spoken loftiness to his tone is really fun to play around with. And next, Storm Lexia asks, have you created your own giant or tiny character that you have yet to introduce to the audience? And if so, what are they like? And I have two interpretations of this question, so I'll answer them both. The first one is, if you're asking if I've made a self-insert character of sorts to use in my videos, no, I have not. I have considered it in the past, and I did actually record an audio with a kind of self-insert character, but I think, at the end of the day, if I were to do a roleplay kind of audio using myself, I want it to just be me semi-in character rather than a complete self-insert. However, for the second interpretation, if you're asking if there are any unreleased characters that I've made just in general, yes, I've made quite a few, actually. Most of my quote-unquote new characters, or characters that I haven't, released publicly yet, don't tend to get posted because they require art, and unless I feel like they'd be used more than once, or if they're, for a particular story, I really don't want to make 50 designs for a bunch of one-off characters. However, that said, to name a few, there was a curmudgeonly fellow whom I've written most of a script for. He was actually conceptualized before even this channel was, if that gives you any idea of how old he is. And basically he's just this kind of older, grumpier fellow who lives alone after his kids moved out, and he meets a tiny person, or a borrower, depending. I think I explicitly mentioned that they're a borrower in the audio. But he meets them and is kind of put off at first, but quickly realizes that they remind him a lot of his kids. So it's kind of sweet. I also have someone for kind of a goofy idea I had of how would tiny people get around in a big wide world. So I had the idea that there are like Ubers for them, but it's literally just a person with a bag. So I have one guy who is just a tiny Uber driver ? And he's quite funny. Very, very anxious because it's his first time doing it in the audio that I had recorded for him. But I also have a tiny person who I've been working on, and he's this lovely little fellow who lives in a town that's actually separate from the main one I've been using. And he's like he's just a huge dork with a big heart who just wants someone he can love. And I also have a few others, but for the most part they aren't really fleshed out. Like, I had the idea of like some sort of hybrid size salon receptionist who's like a super sassy gay man. Also like a giant who kind of lives in a cave and is completely like divorced from the rest of the world, has no idea what's going on, and is like, oh, what do you mean there's tiny people out there? That's silly. But I have no idea if or when any of these people will see the light of day, but one can hope. And let's see. Ooh, I think I'm making better time than I did last time. How exciting. All right. Finally, Hero Distinto has a few questions that I thought were quite amusing, as they mentioned they are, quote, long chat-like questions that I hope count as actual questions. Hero, I don't know if you noticed, most of these questions just end up with me rambling, so it's perfectly fine. I have no judgment. I talk a lot. I enjoy talking. So, their first question was, have you found a way to do a bass growl-like voice for the Dragon ASMR since last Q&A? And I do recall this. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I do remember it being thrown out in the last Q&A video I did, that it'd be possible, the possibility, I should say, of a dragon ASMR where there's a giant dragon and you're a tiny little human. So that being said, I did briefly experiment with creating a sort of uniquely bassy draconic voice in one of my 2023 Halloween videos, the Bone Worm video, for anyone curious, a worm with a Y, not an O. But unfortunately, most attempts to edit my voice on a singular track have left much to be desired because it's painfully obvious it's been lowered in pitch. But I think that doing a layered voice with like one layer being my authentic pitch and then one or more being pitched down, and maybe given like a bit of a bass boost to it, would get the result that I want. I also don't know if I mentioned this in the previous Q&A, so I'll mention it here as well. The lowest voice I can really go while retaining that soft-spoken quality is the Friendly Giant. Like, right now this is already, because I'm having to kind of speak super softly, it's kind of at the lower part of my register. But if I were to try to manage the Friendly Giant, he is at the very lowest part of my register, which is why he has the inherent kind of growl to it, because it's less of a growl and more of an almost a croak. So but yeah, so if I were to do a like deep bassy dragon voice, I think I'd probably have to like raise my voice up to like around where I'm sitting right now, and possibly lean more into that kind of gravelly, growly sound, but like up here and not down there, so that they sound distinct from each other. And if I'm really good about this, I will edit this part to have an example of what I'm talking about with the voice layering. So hopefully you can hear it. And if not, hopefully I at least edit this statement out so I don't embarrass myself. Alright, next question from Hero Distinto. Can I give you an idea of the Giant Dragon ASMR to hear your thoughts and hear what you're canonically planning to do? So yes, of course. And I will also briefly go over the idea that Hero gave, and then I will go ahead and answer the question. Paraphrased, they suggested an audio or audio series involving a rather grumpy and kind of distrustful dragon who, over the course of his time with the listener, comes to enjoy their company and befriends them, while still being a kind of imposing force at heart, just more understanding and accepting of the little human listener. And I really do like the idea. To be honest, I got so caught up with other activities and stuff I was doing that I completely forgot about doing a dragon character. I've been meaning to introduce more non-humans to my roster, or at least bring some old ones back, like again the bone worm or the curious naga, I think his name was. But oops, oh well. That said, I think having a dragon character could play into what I mentioned earlier about the cozy peril aspect of size difference, which could make him a kind of unique. It could give him a unique quality that other characters may not have the opportunity to explore as much. Because your average human, if they pick you up, you can like bite their hand or stab them with a toothpick or something and do some damage. But dragons are kind of designed to be impossible to hurt. So maybe because of that, he's kind of a bit more on the offensive side in his audio than like purely defensive. Like, when he first meets the listener, he's flying over the woods or something, and he sees them in the woods near his cave and kind of assumes that they're coming to slay him like all the others. But he lands and he gives them a few vague threats, and they respond with a few frantic explanations, and he realizes that the listener is just there for entirely harmless reasons. And since he's given the listener a few unintended injuries, or at least a good scare because of his size, he kind of begrudges to let them spend the night and rest up, and thus begins the start of a new and beautiful friendship. I don't know. Do tell me what you all think. I'd love to know. But yeah, I would love to do a dragon character at some point. Like I said, I keep meaning to do non-human characters. I've been busy and I kind of didn't think about it. So, let's see. And the last question I have from Hero Distinto is, I'm curious, are you alright with friendly DMs? For example, on Twitter to ask some ASMR commission stuff there, or just a friendly chat if it's not a bother. And also to not wait for Q&A to give any ideas, or just say hi and give you kudos. This is harder to answer than I was really expecting it to be. Well, I am open for DMs if you want to ask me about commissions or audio information or the like. I would probably discourage more conversational or like social kinds of DMs. And I say this mostly because I'm very busy and I don't check social media much. And I have a very bad tendency to forget when people message me. The last thing I want for anyone to do is like message me hoping to start a conversation or, create a new friendship, and then just be left with radio silence for days on end. That being said, as I mentioned briefly earlier, I would like to spend more time in the size difference community as a whole and be more active there. So potentially I'll start popping up in size difference Discord servers and the like. It'll all depend on where life takes me, I suppose. But if I find something I enjoy, I'll be sure to pop in and say hi. And I think that is all the questions that I had for myself specifically. that being said, if there are any questions that I neglected to answer, I feel like I'm missing some. Let me double check right quick. But if I missed any questions, please do feel free to leave them again in the comments section. This was a particularly odd thing to set up because my document, because of how long it is, it got a bit unwieldy. So what I probably should have just done was make a separate document for every character, but I didn't think to. So it's very possible I accidentally copy-pasted questions into the wrong characters. So yeah, by all means, if you are listening to this and you've gotten to the end and you're going, where's my question? Please do leave it in the comments section. I didn't, more than likely, unless I explicitly stated it in this video that I wasn't going to answer like one of your questions. More than likely I just missed it. And if there's a question that you asked and I didn't cover it here and I answered other ones of your questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments section. I'll respond to it there. Chances are I probably just, again, didn't see it, or I didn't want to do too many questions from one person alone. So, but yeah, please feel free to comment if I've missed any. And yeah. That said, if you'd like to go ahead and leave now, that's perfectly fine. I lost my train of thought. That's so bad. But yeah, if you'd like to go ahead and leave now because you've heard all the questions and heard all the answers, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to keep talking for just a few minutes because I wanted to say thank you to everybody. As you all hopefully are aware, this is a celebration audio to celebrate the fact that despite not really even thinking it possible, this is 1,000 subscribers that I have, and I think that's pretty amazing. I'm just baffled, honestly. I feel like I keep saying this, and the truth is, at this point, with how many times I've recorded all the things I've had to record, I really don't know how many times I've said this. But genuinely, I am floored by the fact that there are so many of you who enjoy my stuff, these goofy little audios I make, and who want to stick around and listen to me. It genuinely means a whole lot to me that so many of you think that my content is worthwhile enough to keep coming back to, not just, give a comment or a like, but subscribe as well. And I think part of the reason why it's so baffling to me is because, I will see people comment, and I'll be able to recognize their names a lot of the times, because a lot of you people who comment, you wonderful, wonderful people, you tend to comment numerous times, either with, ideas or questions or, opinions or insights or inputs, and all sorts of things. And so usually I can see your comments and I go, oh, I know that person from another comment that they left. Or this is the person who suggested that thing. Or, this is the person who mentioned that this audio really helped them because of this thing. And that, when I think about that, I find it hard to believe that I have more than even 5 subscribers. Because I think, well, certainly, if I'm able to recognize people that often, then surely I can't be that popular, Because if I was, surely I would be, neck deep in people who I had no idea who they were. But instead, it seems I've struck a gold mine with you wonderful people, because not only are there so many of you, but also there's so many of you who like to kind of create this beautiful little community and, leave comments and chat amongst yourselves. And I think the fact that multiple questions in this particular Q&A were about, getting in contact and, kind of having that, a more of a connection than just comments. I think that really goes to show how much you guys care about not just, ooh, I make good content, yay, but also like the size difference community as a whole. And I think that's just absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Those of you who've just gotten here recently, thank you for showing up. It is so appreciated. Those of you who've been here for a long time, I recognize some of you in this Q&A. It was quite nice, actually. But yes, some of you who have been here for quite some time, thank you so much for being here and having supported me for so long. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You guys make this so much more fun. More so than just, I enjoy this greatly as it is. Like I said, recording and making audios genuinely is one of my favorite things to do. Even if you weren't all here, I know I would still enjoy it. But the fact that you are all here makes it that much more enjoyable, because I know that it's not just me making content for myself, it's me making content for people who are like me as well, and people who enjoy the stuff I enjoy. And, I feel kind of weird saying this, because I feel like it will come across more conceited than I really mean for it to. But if you have listened to any of my audios and you've been inspired to make your own stuff, please do. Whether you tell me or not, please do make your own content. I've been very fortunate to have a very nice audio equipment. My first microphone that I had, that I started using stuff with, or doing audio stuff with, was a family member's Blue Yeti microphone. So I kind of struck it. I was quite lucky with that one. And since then I've gotten my own, because I got it on sale. But that being said, if all you have is your, headphone mic, or your earbud mic, or if all you have is a phone, and you're worried that it won't sound very good, I mean, first off, lo-fi audio is a thing. It's a very real genre, but also, we all have to start somewhere, Again, the only reason I started off this early was because I had the great fortune to be able to borrow someone else's equipment. But if I didn't, I'd be doing it with whatever mic I could find, my phone or whatever. So if that's all you have, do it. What's the worst that could happen? Make your own, Make your own doodles. It doesn't matter if you're amazing at art, if you're just getting started at it, if all you can draw is a little stick figure. Some people don't even use art in their thumbnails. Or you could use pick crews. I know many people use pick crews, and I think that's quite lovely. It's always fun getting to see when people use the same ones. I'm like, oh. But, that being said, in short, yes. If you're listening to this and you've been inspired to create content, by me or by anyone else, when you just so happen to be listening to me, make content. I think that this outlet, you making audios, is amazing, and it should be done more. And whether you, fully script out your audios before you record them, or if you just do narration, like you're telling a story that you've already written, or that someone else has written, just get permission first, obviously. But if you improvise like me, I do both script writing and improvisation. All of that's valid. Whatever microphone you have, whatever recording equipment you have, whatever, I use Audacity because it's free. But, whatever you have, go for it. I'd love to see what you make. It always makes me happy seeing people new to the audio and ASMR scene appearing in my YouTube For You page. So, yeah. But that's enough rambling. I think I've been talking about this one subject for like 5 minutes now. And again, I worry that it came across more conceited than I really meant for it to, because, hopefully I'm the one who inspired you, but in all genuine, in all honesty, I really just love seeing what people come up with. And I'd love to see people do stuff like the stuff I do, because I love it so much. And if other people love it too, that's just a massive win in my book. So, aside from that, thank you all again. I try not to get it too deep into my own life, because there's so much, and you guys, in the nicest way possible, you don't deserve to have to hear all that. But I've been going through a little bit of a change in my life. Very exciting change, but a change. And it's been very stressful, and it's left my mental health not too great. But knowing that I can do this every week, and knowing that it'll bring you wonderful people some amount of joy, it makes me happy. So, in that way, genuinely, even more than just thank you for being here and commenting and stuff, thank you for bringing me joy and helping me out. Yeah. That's, I guess, all I have to say on that matter, but I feel like I have so much more to say, and yet I have nothing else to say. So, for now, I guess I'll leave it here. Thank you all so much for listening in. It is such an honor and such a privilege to get to do these audios for you, to do this Q&A. And I hope you all look forward to hearing the next one when it comes out. Whether it be everyone all at once, or each character separately. Alright. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Sleep well, or rest well, relax well. Whatever you're doing, I just hope it's wonderful. As wonderful as you deserve. Alright. Goodbye for now.